Puerto Rico stronger and better than before. I am confident that with your commitment, with your support, Mr. President, with your team's support, we will be able to come out of this in the long haul, together with Puerto Rico, give the U.S. citizens of Puerto Rico the adequate resources, treat us the same as citizens in Texas, in Florida, and elsewhere. We will come out of this stronger, and we will make it innovating, Mr. President. I know you are a proponent of public-private partnerships, and I think there is an opportunity here to leverage growth in the energy sector and to be innovative. Not only rebuild what we had in the past, but also with the aid of the federal government and with the private sector, rebuild a much modern, much stronger platform. And not only have Puerto Rico have energy, but actually be a model of sustainable energy and growth towards the future. Those are our aspirations. I think we can talk about that in the education sector, in the healthcare sector. And those are all of our aspirations. We are confident that within this group, we will start addressing those poignant short-term needs, but also talking about the long road ahead, working together with your administration. And again, I want to thank you on behalf of the people of Puerto Rico for your leadership, for your team's leadership, and for having a commitment to stay with the people of Puerto Rico, with the U.S. citizens of Puerto Rico, here for the long haul, to not just put things back together again, but to rebuild them as it should be.
Well, thank you, Governor. One of the things we have done is delivered to the island massive numbers of generators for electricity, because with the power plants down and in such bad shape, we really had to find some way to get, especially for the hospitals and certain other areas. And we have, I don't know if it's record numbers, but it's got to be pretty close, record numbers of generators, so that we have electric in the most important locations, and step by step bringing it back. But you can't really bring electric back until you rebuild a power plant, and that's obviously a different level of subject. With that, I will say that I have given my blessing to Congress, and Congress is working with you and your representatives on coming up with a plan and a payment plan and how it's all going to be funded, because you are talking about some substantial numbers, and I guess you knew that. But I know you were talking about rebuilding your electric plant long before the hurricane. You've been wanting to do that for a long time. So maybe this is a reason that we can do it, and we'll help you, and we'll all do it together. But I will say this, the people of Puerto Rico are amazing, just incredible people. The spirit they have, the strength they have, what they've gone through. Many were isolated in areas where there were no roads, there were no bridges, the bridges were wiped out. It really was incredible to watch the spirit that they have. And they did it with grace. They did it with a smile in many cases. It was really something beautiful to watch. So just please extend all of our warmest regards, and we're with you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President, last week in a tweet, sir, you suggested that there was a limit to the federal emergency involvement in response to the Puerto Rico hurricanes. How long are you willing to commit federal resources to not just the recovery, but the rebuilding of Puerto Rico? And what do you and Governor Rosselló know about reports of widespread corruption among local officials in the distribution of emergency supplies that apparently the FBI is doing?
Well, I'm working very closely with the government on that, because there has been corruption on the island, and we can't have that. You know, we're sending a lot of supplies, we're sending tremendous amounts of food and water and everything, and I know your folks are working on that very hard, but we just can't have it. When it comes to Texas, as an example, in Florida, you know how smooth that's been. It's operating like a well-oiled machine. They are really going well, and the people are working very hard. And in Puerto Rico, they're working hard too, but we have gotten some of those reports from on a local basis. And I think the governor will be able to do something about that. I hope you're going to be able to do something about it.
Of course, sir. If you want, I can brief you a little bit on what we're doing. We gotten some reports that food was getting either from FEMA or from private sector or non-for-profits to the different municipalities, and they weren't being distributed appropriately. So we did three things. Number one, we got the National Guard to go over to all of the municipalities and help with the logistics, in case it was just a matter of not knowing how to execute. Number two, we had auditors from our Treasury Department go so that we can have accountability on what food goes in and what food goes out to the people of Puerto Rico. Number three, very importantly, we had our Department of Justice go and is investigating whether there has been mismanagement of foods, because it is unacceptable. And as I stated the first day where I...
By the way, not by the federal, this is local we're talking about, just so we all understand. I think Brock is here and Tom is here. I think they've done an incredible job. But we're now talking on a local basis, and I think, John, that was your question also.
It was on a local basis.
Yes, and you know, we are following up on that, and as I stated the first day, if there is a public official that is purposely mishandling the food that should go to the people of Puerto Rico, there is going to be some hell to pay.
And Mr. President, the length of time you're willing to commit federal resources to the
Well, I can
recovery
say
and
that
rebuilding?
for anywhere. I can say that for any place we go. You know, at some point, FEMA has to leave, first responders have to leave, and the people have to take over. Puerto Rico is a more difficult circumstance, as you can understand, John. But at a certain point, we have to leave the various locations that we're in. We were in Louisiana, and they have done a fantastic job. They were sort of grazed, but Lake Charles and the various areas were hit pretty hard, but it was a grazing hit. We worked there, and they've taken over and been fantastic. In Texas and Florida, it's been incredible to watch. It's really been incredible to watch how quickly things are coming together. But at a certain time, FEMA and first responders, and by the way, the military, we have close to 18,000 people in Puerto Rico right now, in Puerto Rico. We moved a hospital ship. I believe it's the largest in the world. It's there now, and you know, you don't want to use it as much as if you can have the local hospitals. That's better in many ways. But we have tremendous assets in Puerto Rico. You know, at some point, no matter where it is, whether it's Texas or whether it's Florida, you know, it ends. But I can say in the case of Texas, in the case of Florida, in the case of Louisiana, some areas also got grazed. They have been incredible in the response and incredible in how fast it's coming back. And in many cases, areas that were devastated are already back. In this instance, it's a more difficult situation. But I think the governor understands that FEMA, the military, first responders cannot be there forever. And no matter where you go, they cannot be there forever.
If I may just briefly add to that, that is the importance of the short-term and long-term packages that will be in Congress, right? We're going to need some resources. Of course, FEMA is there for the initial response. There is some rebuilding to go through. So that's why, you know, we're thankful to the President for supporting these petitions to Congress so that we can get the resources, liquidity, to kickstart the economy, and of course the long-term rebuilding process. And this is very important. You know, the President has been clear on stating that you know, no U.S. citizen will be left behind. We will be working, and this is the way we work towards making a better America and a better Puerto Rico.
Gobernador, ¿está usted satisfecho con la respuesta?
You have areas in Puerto Rico where we literally had to, and still have to, but it's getting less and less, deliver food and supplies by helicopter because the roads have been wiped out and the bridges have been wiped out. There's no way to get there except by helicopter. And those are difficult situations, and we're working with the governor and with the folks on getting it taken care of. But we are literally delivering supplies dropped by helicopter. And with that being said, I have to also say our military and our first responders and Brock Long and FEMA and Tom, the job they've done has been incredible. But we are delivering very essential supplies by helicopter because there's no way to get to the area of the island. And the folks have done an incredible job. Brock, would you like to say something?
So every day we continue. Right now the focus is on restoring essential services. You know, we've stabilized a lot of the emergency power needs of hospitals, and we're starting to focus and work with the governor today on rebuilding power grids going forward, as well as water treatment, wastewater, roadway systems. So we're going to continue to support the governor. We're looking at trying to specifically restore the essential power or the essential functions to 6 major municipalities within Puerto Rico that service about 80% of the population, starting there and then working our way out. So the traditional recovery is going to require a solution far greater than what FEMA typically puts down. But that's why we're here today working with Governor Rosselló and the President and all of the cabinet members to figure out what the best way forward is for the longer term solutions.
There's never been a situation where power and energy have been so devastated. Never. You know, where you don't have a power plant. Because power plants, you don't fix them up in, we're not just putting a pole up in the street like in Texas where you'd put up the poles, and in Florida actually you had a lot of underground wire, which is great. It'd be wonderful if you could have underground wire. It makes it a lot better in these storms. But There's never been a situation where the energy and the power has been totally destroyed. And part of the problem is that it was pretty well destroyed before the storm, and we're working together to get that back up, but also to make it long-term, which I think you have to. They were working on long-terming it prior to the storm, so now they really are working on it.
That's part of the mitigation strategy. I mean, again, I can't stress enough how important it is that we keep this on the long haul, for the long haul, that we work together so that we can make sure that we don't just put things back again as they were, but that we make it better than before. And